Paul Wrigley, welcome to Milestone Bellanova and Business Insider.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Thanks for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. We've been chasing you for a while.
Yeah?
Yes.
Mate, busy October.
It is a great thing.
Yeah.
General Manager of Central Coast Radio.
2GO and CFM.
Indeed, I thought I'd let you go. I remember where you're from.
Yeah.
Been there, been away, come back.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. A total of 15 years in place.
Yeah, probably heading towards 20 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You went away, and some would say, what were you thinking about going into retail after your first stint at radio? What did that do to you, Paul? I guess
Well, I think in retrospect that helped me no end. I mean, what took me there, I was 15 years in the job, started off as a retail sales manager, heard the job on the freeway, as lots of people do, and decided that doing the big track across Sydney wasn't the right thing. Found myself as a retail sales manager at 2GO and CFM, and 15 years, became the GM, was there for 3 years, and you talk to these clients all the time, and sometimes you think the grass is greener, and you're a bit envious of the fact that they're their own boss and all these types of things. And
now you know.
And now I know. I know that it's an interesting life on the other side. And so 15 years and time for change. The change opportunity came up and I found myself with a partnership with the Snooze franchise. So I was gone for about 4 years.
Okay.
Circumstances being that I guess the biggest impact I had, without doubt, was the weekend work. I mean, I had a family, I had a wife at home. And when everybody else was off, I was actually working because it was a prime time to do business. So I felt that I had to be at work.
So what else did that teach you? What did you get out of that for?
Oh, like today, and I found myself back into this role again just by circumstances. But today, I can genuinely talk to people and go, I know I've been on the other side.
Yes.
We had great staff at Snooze, and probably still have good staff there. I know a lot of people are still there, but still. You're having to deal with staff, you're having to deal with all those things where you are the primary source of income, making a difference to their lives, but also sustaining your life. And you don't really always the master. In our case, we have a franchise, so we also had a master.
Indeed.
And they asked a lot.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing, and we've shared that because my background obviously is a tad of time in franchising. An educational point that we can both say, I think, is that franchisees need to be more aware of what they're getting involved with.
100%. And I think we found ourselves right at the very beginning probably fighting a little to get what the ground was going to be like. It can be all the franchisors way, and I think what I learned was that you need to find at the very beginning what leeways you're able to have, i.e. say marketing. We had marketers in Melbourne, and I guess I felt that I knew the Central Coast, and I wanted to have my say in the marketing. Yeah, and they gave me leeway. In fairness to them, they did. They gave me leeway, and so that side of the business helped a lot. We were able to market to the right demographics and what have you. Yeah.
So you came back with refreshed vigour and broader understanding.
Very much so.
Yeah,
and it's been great right to this day, Mark. I mean, I can, like I said before, I can honestly go into a business now and go, I understand.
If you ever needed to be able to do that, right now is a good time to do that.
It is.
So what's happening in the marketplace? And if we talk about retail right now on the coast, if we were just to talk about a specific area.
Okay. It's a tough market, we all know that. You don't have to be Einstein, you turn on the national news every day or read the local paper or even read the national paper, listen to our radio stations. You know that it's a tough market out there. We're doing okay. I mean, from a revenue sense, local direct perspective, as we call it, we're doing quite well. Richard Pryor is the helm of the team there, and we've got a really good trained team of business people, and I think that's the secret. In tough times,
Richard
you can't
again has been in his own space for.
He went off and franchised as well and came back. Yeah. But I think it's very much in these tougher times that you've got to be the businessman and not the person that's just looking for the buck or looking for the He's 20 by 20 and I've got a super deal for you, will you give me some money? Those days, and certainly in times like this, is gone. Yeah. So it's a tough market. Richard's done very well.
And you've got a competitor too now, which is, like Richard was here when they arrived. Yeah. And, you both had time away since they've been on the planet, up here on the Central Coast. Has that changed the approach to to radio on the coast, do you think? Or?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it delivered better radio, to be honest with you. I mean, it's really interesting. You go through life and you think to yourself that you're doing the very best job you can. And, then another competitor pops up and you actually got more. You don't realise you got more, but you have more. And I think Star coming to town, and I'm quite happy to say their name, Star coming to town was very good for Radio Central Coast, for sure. It upped the stakes. And, we had to dig in even more. And I think Central Coast people are better off for the extra service that came here.
Do we get numbers? Are there ratings done on this?
Yeah, there is. We the last set of numbers was done about 2 years ago.
All right.
I'm quite happy. I think we're talking about the business climate. I mean, we're very ready now for another survey. And if we can come to terms with our friends, we guess we would have another survey. I think people need to know what they're buying.
Is the market itself? And I guess by that I mean the radio stations more accountable now. Is there an opportunity to sell responses and achievement of goals, or is it because it's always it's like TV. It's a difficult place to be.
It is a very difficult. We're talking about sending something an intangible out, which is a commercial, and trying to turn it into a tangible by making someone's till.
Indeed. And there's often a big gap there.
It can be hard. So, we've been doing this for a long time now, so we understand what the technical processes are in order to make that happen. But there's still there's still an aspect of it which is sending fresh air out, making the till ring. So it's tough, and tougher today because the market has changed somewhat, and you really have to drive down to what that particular clientele needs from that particular type of business.
Can I really specific now, because Star is there, you have two quite different products through design and through production. Is there something, and this is blatantly a sales opportunity, what does your group bring that perhaps the competitor doesn't bring to the marketplace?
Well, I think in fairness, everyone brings something different. So that's where we start. And I don't want to talk about them because they run their own race.
Talk about you.
However, for us, we're dedicated to the community. I mean, you don't have to be, you could be a partial listener of either the two stations, understand that we are fully grounded into this community. I sit on 3 boards now, which are basically chamber boards, and we have a fully dedicated person just for the community. We do Give Me 5 for kids, we do the carols, we put all those types of things on. So rooting into this community is very, very important to us, and I think we do that extraordinarily well.
Do you talk enough about it, do you think?
No, we don't. We do it, and it's almost expected that 2GO, 40 years by the way, I'll give it a plug, 40 years on the 19th, it's almost expected that 2GO is a community citizen, but it is. And no, we don't boast about it. We could write...
Not boast, no, and I'm just saying, I went to... We recorded, and he will appear soon, a sales presenter last night that talked about real values, and your community values are there. But he was talking specifically about retailers and things like money back guarantees, and no one ever puts it on the door in case the retailers are concerned that someone will rip them off. But your community position is a powerful position too. So
we basically live it. I'm quite happy to and do give up a lot of my time, and as do all my people. I mean, we do a lot of things that for this community, we care about the community. You've got to invest back in your community too. I mean, there's 45 people full-timers at Central Coast Radio, mate. We all got good jobs. We don't have to do the track down to Sydney. We all love our jobs. We're passionate about our jobs. And there is an absolute thought pattern that goes with all those people that says we need to reinvest back into our community. And that's not always back into the businesses that's going to spend money with you in advertising. That's back to the raw roots of helping people out. There's nothing more pleasurable, I swear to you, there is nothing more pleasurable than being on the gate at carols and letting everyone come in, and everyone is just so decent and nice. And to think that we put that on makes me very proud. I've got goosebumps in my legs right now. Makes me very proud. And the very fact that we go around and rattle the tin of any demographic, of any different type of person you could possibly think. And we could be on a strip shop, and I've done it, as all the team goes out for a day and does it. And everyone but anyone will put 5 cents or whatever they can afford into the Give Me 5 box. It makes you feel really good. It makes you feel that you're good that you're doing it as well.
Very cool. With regards to the next 12 months, tough economic time. Oh no, that's not right. There will be opportunities there. Do you see a role for radio to bring those opportunities out?
Oh, absolutely. An example more recently is Oktoberfest. Paul Greentree and his family put on that Oktoberfest on the top of the hill. And, I think it had some council support and what have you. But, we got right behind Paul. One, seems to be a really decent sort of guy. I've known him for a while when he was at the Greyhounds. But secondly, he brought something to the Central Coast, which is new and novel. And so we invested as much in Paul, but more so in the event for the Central Coast. So I think we're able to do that. Now, my logic to that is if we can give Paul the confidence to do 1 or 2 or 3 more of these events, I think that's great for the community. It brings a new substance to the community. So radio has a big impact in doing that, And from a commercial point of view, I think the next year is going to be more of the same. I think it's going to be tough. But the thing that's encouraging is, again, you just listen to the national news. There's plenty of money in people's pockets. Credit cards and all-time lows, savings, mortgages are down. So people have the money. It's what you say for them in order to make that execution, to go and make that sell.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Is there something that Paul Wrigley, if we gave him a soapbox, would have a quick say, ladies and gentlemen, I want this fixed on the Central Coast like that?
Okay. I'll probably have a couple, but the main bugbear I'll probably have is the non-acceptance of change. I mean, we're almost like an immigrant state. So many of us come from everywhere, and you could sit around a table, and only a few of us were actually born on the coast. I wasn't, by the way. I'm not one of those people from Sydney. And there's so many of us, and there's this different dynamic happening on the coast. And I'm thinking more than anything that we've got to accept change, and we've got to accept opportunities of change when the infrastructure needs to change. And I don't think we can stay, it was good 10 years ago, we need to go back or be the same as it was 10 years ago. We need Oktoberfest, we need probably more accommodation, we need more things. And I think that will then deliver us more people to the coast, and our businesses would do a whole lot better as a result. Is
business doing enough? Are business owners demanding enough of their businesses, or are we very comfortable, to use a Digital Dave Abrams phrase, our biggest challenge is our comfort level? And
yeah, well, that's a very good question. I'm thinking that across the board, there are people that really want to make a difference. There's people that just live in their job, and for other people who have a business, it's just a job. I think these times is very interesting. I think it's an opportunity for those people to buy market share and to make a difference, and for themselves and their business. So somebody who might be ranked at number 3 or 4 today, who is prepared to have a go to market themselves, buy market share in these softer, what would be considered softer times, may go past the number 1 and number 2 category leaders, in their part. In saying that, I know so many of our business leaders, though, that do invest in their, in their business, whether they sponsor the local football team, their community, I should say, whether they sponsor their local football team, or whether they're doing something for, some charitable event. There are a lot of people that do have a go, I've got to say, Mark.
A regional question now.
Sure.
You are in Gosford, you are in the Gosford City Council region. As a business overseer, a business leader that looks right across the coast, do you think there is an advantage for an amalgamation of the councils, or is cooperation the way to go?
Yeah, my view on it, I am not fully involved in all the debate that goes with that. However,
which is probably good.
Looking into the crystal ball says to me that there's got to be some advantage in amalgamating, because there's got to be some, fundamental. Look, the big one that comes to mind, again, and I say it's unqualified, it's just an opinion, the very fact that maybe we have 2 councils put forth 2 cases to governmental departments, and it all becomes too hard, whereas we worked as one, maybe that might work a lot better. But again, unqualified, really uneducated on that, but certainly can have an opinion.
I think you might be under. I agree totally. I think I'm fast approaching the position that when there is infighting within a region and there are 2 options, the government finds that a unique opportunity to say, look, you guys sort it out and then we'll make a decision later, rather
Yeah.
than being unified and going with one option and saying that's number one and number two, rather than the classic, here are two top priorities and we want both of them.
Maybe the option could be, which is, I know there are people for it and there's people against it, as you hear in the community, but maybe one of the opportunities was to actually document some of these amalgamations of services and alike, and how they are progressing, and put some sort of timeline, and maybe it's revisited in a year or 18 months, and based on some of the synergies of working together and what those outcomes were, and whether it was positive. And if it all seems like it wasn't, then forget about it. If there were some positive signs that the amalgamation can make a difference, then maybe it's time to go the whole hog.
Okay. Paul, we just talked about change, or you talked about change and the opportunity to embrace a bigger picture. We've got the Gosford landing literally being discussed and debated fairly heavily now. What's your view on the landing and the future?
I love change, not for change's sake. I love change because normally we'll go forward with change. I think that would be, just personal view again, I think that would be sensational for the Gosford district. I think it will stimulate life, not only on the waterfront there, but it will actually flow right the way through the CBD. I think it will be just so special. I understand that there's probably still some consultation. I believe the plan is not laid down absolutely the way that it should be, and is purely a guideline. And I guess I'm hearing things about shadows and a few other things. But all those things in consultation should be able to, grind something down to something that's very good and very valuable and needed in the CBD.
Yeah. Is it a life and death situation when you think of?
Well, I don't have an opinion one way or another, but if you talk to some will say that it probably is. How many times, I've been on the coast now for 20 odd years, and they're always going to do something about Gosford City on the basis that everything moved to Erina, and that was way back when, 20 or 25 years ago. So, there's been so many opportunities and so many people saying, today we're going to make a difference, and it never happens. And today we do have something that's solid there in place that could go. And I think we really need to make it go. Some will say if we don't do it this time, that it's over. And we'll be locked down to what we have now for some years. But, I hate for that not to be the case, but it would be really good if we could find some compromise, if there is people that are looking for compromise, but we embrace this landing and make it work. I think it'll be great for the CBD.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.